Hello everyone and welcome to the Morgen office hours. For those of you that haven't been here before, I'm Danny. I'm customer support here at Morgen, and what I want to do today is show you my Morgen, well, a demo version of my Morgen, and show you how I use it, how I plan my days, my weeks, how I manage conflicts with the AI planner, and everything in between with the hotkeys and shortcuts and all the fun stuff. Do let me know which version of Morgen you prefer, light mode or dark mode, and see where we're going to go with this today. So hello Russ in the chat. Will the live session be available to watch afterwards? I was about to get there. Yes, there will be a replay available on the YouTube channel afterwards. So if you do need to jump off, there's no issues there. So what I'm going to do is scoot over to my Morgen. I'm a dark mode user, so unless the votes skew light mode, we're going to stay on the dark mode here. And you'll notice, for those who are unfamiliar with Morgen, there is actually nothing on the calendar. We've got a vote for dark mode. Okay, looks like we're staying here for the moment. There is nothing on the calendar. Oh, two. Okay, definitely dark mode so far. And that's because I've actually turned the calendars off. And what I will do is I'll bring the calendars in as we go. Let me know if there's any issues with audio or anything like that, because I can see something on my side, but that's fine. So at the bottom left, you'll see an icon. My face is currently covering it. But if you push P on the keyboard, we bring up preferences. And for a bit of orientation, I'm going to go through my setup so everyone knows what's going on. Inside of the calendar integrations, I have a Google Calendar account connected. It's connected to the computer and to the cloud, which means that I can see all of the events, tasks, and frames inside of Morgen on my phone, which I use all of the time. Then I've also connected an Outlook account, and this is my Morgen Outlook account, also connected on the computer and in the cloud. Because these are both connected to the cloud, it also, if you see the crossing arrows there, allows me to use workflows, which I'll go through a little bit later on, but there are other options such as iCloud, subscription, Fastmail, and other cloud app providers. I don't have any of those, but they are available with most of the features that we're going to talk about today. Then if I hover down to the tasks and projects integration, there are lots of task and project integrations available. I'm going to go through the ones that I use when I'm planning, but all of the features that I'm going to talk about today will be available with other tools such as Linear, Todoist, and what's the other one? Outlook, Mail, Email, which I don't use, and Zapier is an option in there. You can see I've got Notion connected, ClickUp connected, Google Tasks, and Obsidian. Obsidian, because it is a local integration, Apple Reminders is also a local integration, it's not available on the cloud. But it doesn't mean you can't have Obsidian or Apple Reminder tasks on your phone. It means that they have to be scheduled on the calendar, because these tasks and projects will sync through the Google Calendar account. And I will go through that now. So if I have a look at my calendar, there is nothing showing. But if I go to the top right, click on the calendars, you can see I've got all of these different calendars that are connected, but I've turned them off. At the moment, I'm just showing the United Kingdom holidays, which there is nothing. But if I turn on, let's say, the events calendar, you can now see I've got all of the events from that calendar showing. And this is the travel time workflow I just referred to. Is there a global quick add being added so I don't have to open the app to create a to-do? I assume you're referring to the global command bar. If I go to P, preferences, in general preferences, if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see there's a global command bar hotkey, Control plus Shift plus K. It's enabled. You can disable it. I think it might be disabled by default, which means if I close down Morgen, so I push Alt-C, the global command bar, global command hotkey to close it down, Control Shift K brings up the command bar. If I'm already in Morgen, I can either click on the command bar at the top, or you can see there's the hotkey, Control K, and then it brings up the command bar. So yes, there is a global command bar available. You may need to turn the hotkey on, but it is an option, and I will go through some of the things you can do with the command bar a little bit later on. So hopefully that answers your question, Ryan. Then when it comes to the events that I was just referring to, if I double click, you can see it's in the events calendar. This events calendar, if I come in, is in my Google Calendar, the personal Google Calendar, but I could change it to any other calendar that I have connected to Morgen. Can you configure which keys? Not at the moment. Hotkeys aren't customizable. There is a feature request inside of Canny which you can vote for and share feedback on. So any of the tasks that you bring in via Obsidian or Apple Reminders, if you connect to one of these calendars, it will then sync via the calendar. And you'll notice there is a task option. So if I, let's go to the calendars, turn off the events calendar and bring on the task calendar, I have lots of frames in here, but I do have one task up here. There's a tick box to show that it's a task. If I double click, this also has a calendar account. So the task is connected to a calendar account, which is where the Obsidian and Apple reminders can sync across to mobile. Hopefully that makes sense. For those of you that have been vigilant and watching, you'll see there are numbers at the side of these calendars. And what these are called calendar sets. They are sets of calendars that will turn on and off depending on the number that I push. So if I push 4, for example, so I've pushed 4 on my keyboard, now all of those calendars are turned off except from United Kingdom holidays because it's a number 4. If we look, we've got a number 3 up here. So now if I push 3 on my keyboard, it's showing my projects calendar. So these are all day tasks. You can see there's the task. It's not editable because it's in Notion. It's a Notion task and it's in the projects calendar. And this is all the information on that task. And that's being shown because I've pushed 3 on the keyboard. And 4 is now being hidden, or the United Kingdom holiday is now being hidden because it's not in that calendar set. If I push 2, now I'm going to show all of the tasks, which is in the task calendar, and events in the events calendar. And if I push 1, it's then going to show me all of those calendars. So I've now got projects, tasks, habits, which are green, events, and then my work calendar, birthdays, and United Kingdom holidays calendar. If I go to preferences, previously we were in this view, which is the calendar accounts connected. If I go to active calendars, you can now see I can add different calendars. So I can turn the calendars on and off from the settings, and then I can turn them on and off inside of my actual view. So maybe I bring in other shared calendars because they're connected to the Google account, but I don't want to see them. So I can turn them off here. And now if I come up to the calendars, you can see I've got one not active calendar. So you have full customization of what calendars you see and what calendars you can turn on inside of Morgen. And then you can connect events or tasks to those calendars, which will then sync across the various tools that you're using, whether it's a desktop, a laptop, a Mac, a mobile, etc. So let's go backwards a little bit. Here, you can see we've got an event and 2 travel time events afterwards. These are both in the same calendar, and this was automatically created via a workflow. If I double click, you can see I've got a location inside of this event. And if I add an event with any location, the Morgen Workflow, which you can access via the double arrows here, Morgen Workflows, and then open up Morgen Assist. I've got it open in my other tab, which is here. You can then add calendar propagation, which I'll go through in a second, automated travel time, which is what I'm looking at, and then buffer time. Buffer time and automated travel time work very, very similar. So travel time, if there is a location, it will add travel time from your set location. So I have this set from a specific location where I'm at, and I'm saying I'm driving there. So it's calculating via Google Maps how long that's going to take me via driving. It could be set to walking, it could be set to cycling, but I have that set. Buffer time is, if I go into this event, if we add an attendee, now Morgen assumes it's an online meeting or a meeting in person potentially, and it's going to add a buffer time either before or after for reflection. The other workflow is the propagation workflow. Is there a shortcut to show all calendars? Well, all of the calendars, for me, I push 0, so I have a calendar set which 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So I have 0 as show everything, and then I personally, this is the way I do my calendar sets, everyone does it slightly different. I have 0 to show everything. I have 1 to show what I want to do mainly throughout the day, which shows my projects in the all day, which I'll go through my philosophy workflow in a second, or in a bit. It also shows my habits, it shows my tasks, and it shows my events. Then for 2, I don't want to see my projects or my habits, so just tasks and events. And then for 3, I want it to show projects because I will push M on my keyboard to then see an overview of sprint tasks, goals, and things like that. So yes, there is a calendar set, but you would make it. So I'm going to go back to, let's go today, and then let's go to the week view. There we go. Let's go back to 4. Actually, I do want the 1. And as you can see, I go through the views quite frequently. So where was, propagation workflow. So the propagation, what it does is it looks at a specific calendar. In this case, it's looking at, if I double click here, it's looking at the work calendar, which is the purple calendar, and it says, okay, is there an event in this calendar? If there is, create the same event in a different calendar. So you can see if I switch, it's now created a busy via Morgen, because that's the workflow event in my personal calendar. Now, why would I want that? Well, my family can't see my work calendar because it's my work calendar. So I have events propagate from my work calendar to my personal calendar. So now my family know I'm in a meeting, but all they can see is that I'm busy. And you can do this as many times as you want. If I bring back, where is it? This one. You can see I can create multiple propagation workflows to bring calendars in for different things. So you can have calendars set to show certain people, certain events at certain times. And there is also a nerd mode to be very picky with the way that events propagate to and from them, which I'm not going to go in now, but there's a lot of customization in there. So that is the workflows. But in the left side, you'll also notice there are other options apart from just this calendar view. The calendar view is great, it's where I live, but there are other options. So if I go to this top button, we have the tasks. So even though I have a task inside of the calendar, a scheduled calendar slot, and in the all day section, there are tasks. I'm currently in the all tasks view, and that's showing all of the tasks from all of the external sources. So ClickUp, Notion, Google Tasks, and Obsidian, and any other external source I want to bring in, and my Morgen tasks. If I click on Morgen tasks, I can now see the Morgen task list. If I go ClickUp tasks, Notion, Google Tasks, Obsidian, etc., all tasks show all of them. But that's not all. If I go to the top, you can see we've got a filter icon, and I have custom filters, which if I click on, let's say, Morgen videos, show the filters list, this is only showing the Notion area, how to, long form, and short tasks. So if we go to Notion, you'll see I have two different databases brought in from Notion. And if I go to the view settings, there are lots of different groups. There is a how-to group for property in Notion, long form, property in Notion, short, sprint goals, none. And what this saved filtered view is doing specifically is looking for just those pieces of information. So just the videos from the project database that has this information, which allows me to be very specific with the filters. If we go to inbox, I have two filters. It's looking for Morgen tasks in my inbox task list and Google tasks in my tasks list. And so we have 4 tasks in there, 3 from Morgen, 1 from Google Tasks. So we have essentially 3 different ways to view tasks, all tasks, the source tasks, and then the saved filtered views. When you're in one of these views, there are then viewing preferences, which I've just alluded to. So going to Morgen, view, I can change the order by, due date, importance, task list, manual ordering, or any of the other information. But this is Morgen, the Morgen source. If I go to ClickUp, go to view, and then go order by, this will be slightly different because there are folders and there are lists inside of ClickUp, but there's not folders and lists inside of Morgen, which is why you've only got the task list instead of the lists. Similar naming. Notion, we go to view, go to order by, there are more properties because Notion has more properties brought in. So the view settings are specific to the view that you're in. Then you've got grouping options. With the grouping option, you can then turn on or off what you're filtering by. So I'm not showing my habits task list, which is what lunch and dinner in, because I don't want to see all of my habits in the sidebar. So I turn that off. That's my viewing preference. Then there are display labels. So if we show this inbox task, we've got the Monday due date, 15-minute estimate time. If I come down here, I can add importance. I don't have an importance on there. I can remove the due date. Let's remove that, remove the estimate time. So now it's going to hide or show the information I want. And then we have another option, which is to show more information on tasks inside of the calendar, which I'm going to turn on now, which may look a little bit busy. I'm going to add the due dates of the Morgen tasks. I'm going to add the due dates of the ClickUp tasks. I'm going to add the due dates of the Notion tasks, the due dates of the Google tasks, and then the due dates of the Obsidian tasks. Oh, I was already showing those. And you'll notice now we have a different, it's kind of like a viewing event on the calendar. We have a task, scheduled task slot. We have a frame, which I'll go through it later. We have an event, and then we have a due date. And you'll see they are all grayed out. They all look very similar. And there's a due on them. They're gray dotted. And when we click on them, it says you can block on calendar or display preferences. That's it. There's nothing else to them. And that's because these are visualizations of a due date. So we go back to Morgen, and we can see here Mum's birthday card is due on Monday. If I go and use the right arrow key to go to Monday, you can see Mum's birthday card is there. But if I left arrow key to go back to today and drag this onto the calendar, so I'm scheduling it onto the calendar, now I have a scheduled slot. If I double click on this task, double click on the task, you see the due date is the 23rd, but I now have a planned start and planned end scheduled time of this task on the calendar. And I can do this multiple times. So I can have another one there, another one there. Why did I do that on my birthday card? I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is bulk delete. I'm going to left click, hold Control on my keyboard, left click. You can see I've now selected 2 tasks, and I can either push the delete button there, or I can push delete on my keyboard, and now I'm going to delete those 2 slots. So that was bulk selection, and that's removed those. And what I can do, if I want to, because we have the visualization, due date visualization on the calendar, I can move this to, let's say, Tuesday. And now the due date has been updated. You'll see it now says Tuesday in the sidebar. We go back to the task, have a look at the task here, and you see the due date is now the 23rd. If we were to change it to, let's say, the 22nd and save, now it's going to save the due date and change it to Sunday. So the due date visualization is also movable, just like an event, just like a task, and just like a frame. I'm actually going to delete that session because I don't want it. And so that's all of the different parts that we have to build up the background, the behind the scenes of Morgen, until we get to frames. And frames is where, this is where I love Morgen, because what it lets you do is block out a time, just like this. This is an office hour event, so my parents can see that it's an event. And what I could do is create a frame for this, but a frame is ideally what's going to happen in your week. Ideally in a week, what is going to happen? For me, you can see a Morgen task. But this office hour event happens irregularly, so I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know something in Morgen tasks is going to happen. And this is a frame to say Morgen stuff should be happening right now. We go earlier on in the day, inbox stuff. We go a little bit after Morgen tasks, a little bit after Morgen videos, then videos, then trampoline tasks. And if I double click on any of these labels, you'll see it's a frame, and there are frame filters, very similar to the save filters we've just gone through inside of this frame. And the time information is exactly the same as the events and as the tasks. We've got a start time, we've got an end time, and we can repeat. I'm going to cancel and just show you an example on Sunday. So if I left click, drag down, so we're going from 9 till 11, we've got event, we've got a task, or we've got a frame. And you'll notice it's currently in the projects calendar. I mentioned earlier, they can be in any calendar you want. If I was to change this to the events calendar, because my events calendar is shared with my family, they will see this frame, but I don't want them to see the frame. So I'm going to go tasks. This also means when I use the AI planner in a minute, any task that's scheduled in this frame will go to the tasks calendar. If I was to have the events frame, it will go to the events calendar. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So if the AI planner schedules a task inside of this frame, depending on the frame filters that we add, the task will go into the events calendar, which means my parents and sister and family will be able to see that this task is in this frame. So I'm going to go to tasks, and then inside of this frame filter, I can add any of these saved filters, which means you don't have to add multiple things. So you don't have to add all of those different points again. So if you go to inbox, you can see it's added both of these filters in one. If I change this to, let's say, Morgen videos, you can see it's added all 3 of those options in. But if I wanted to do it manually, I can come in, go to Morgen, go to projects, and then you can see we've got short. I can turn these on or turn these off. And once I've saved it, I can save the filter. But at the moment, you can see it's on every week because it's a weekend day. It's not going to be every weekday, but I can change this. So if I come in, I can say no repeat. So just this one time, every day, every weekday, every week, every month, every year, or add in any custom and type something out. So recently I added something for every week until the end of August. So if I say every week until the end of August and then push enter on my keyboard, the Morgen AI will then work that out every week until August 31st. And that's when this will repeat to. It will repeat every Sunday until the end of August. So now if I push save, if we go to the next one, it's there. And if we go all the way through July and get to the end of August, you see September, it's gone. August, it's there. September, it's gone. August, it's there. So now I push T to come back to today. That is how you can create custom occurrences. I'm going to double click in. I'm going to change this and say no repeat, and then save. This and future occurrences, all occurrences, or cancel. I want it this and all occurrences. So now when I go to next week, it's now no longer there. And that occurrence is the same for tasks and the same for events. So what you can see here at lunch, if I double click, is every day. because I want lunch at every day. This could be an event, it could be a task, or it could be a frame. I use tasks because I like the confetti. So if I was to tick this off and say I've done it, I get a bit of confetti every time I complete a task, which is very nice. So that is the, oh, I can see I've just been invited to an event. You see the notification at the top? That's probably my work calendar, so I'm not going to click on that because I don't know what it's going to say. But this is a notification that says I've been invited to an event and I may accept or decline it depending on what the meeting is. So I assume they know I'm in the call. Maybe they're even watching. We'll see when I talk to them tomorrow. So the AI planner. Let's push this button and see what it does now that we've added in, now that we've got some frames. If I push the AI planner, we now get loads of settings, which can look intimidating. What you see here is lots of different tasks hovering. They're all hovering around. Some of them you can see are ClickUp tasks. Some of them are purple. So I know that they are in the Morgen task list because it's taken the purple from the purple task list color. If we look at this one, this is red. So this is the trampoline task list. These are Morgen tasks. We then have the 3 dots, which means it's high priority. So if we go to trampoline, let's actually show the importance. You can see now we've got the high priority on that SOMAT. This one is high priority from ClickUp. If we come in here, we've got the urgent, so it's high priority, and I can see all of that information on the calendar, but they're all hovering because these are suggestions from the AI planner. They're not scheduled in the calendar, they haven't been put anywhere yet, they are just suggestions. If I don't like a suggestion, say, sorry Camilla, I don't want to respond to you, I can ignore this task. And when I ignore it, the AI planner will then suggest something else. You see, Mum's birthday card has been put in there now instead, or suggested there instead. On the right side, you'll also see a list. You see, these tasks are due soon or overdue, but Morgen could not find a suitable time. And this is essentially a warning to say, hey, you should probably consider this task. If you're not sure why it's not being scheduled, you can hover over the eye, and this task is at risk because it could not be fully scheduled before the due date. You can see it's due today, and it can't be scheduled today because of what's in the frame. So the frame is busy with other stuff, and it's not being suggested. But it doesn't mean I can't put it in. I can say, actually, you know what? I'm going to put this in right after this event. And what it's going to do is reshuffle everything. You can see now there's nothing, there's no warnings in the right side, and that's scheduled the task. So you see it's not hovering. If I stop the mouse for a second, it's not hovering. All the others are hovering because I've manually scheduled it. And I can also manually schedule any task from any of these lists. So this is, let's go to Morgen today. Let's say, actually, I do want to respond to Camilla, but I'm not going to do it inside of a frame. I'm going to do it a little bit out of hours. I'm actually going to do it at 9 o'clock. So it's going to have a think. Nope, that didn't interfere with anything else. That's great. So now I've got Camilla at 9 o'clock, and I'm adding a trial to the trampoline dock just after this call. So I've manually scheduled during this planning session with all of these other suggestions hovering around. Now, I can see here that this is quite a long session block. Do I want to do all of that? Maybe, maybe not. If I don't, I can right click, change estimate, and say, actually, I only want to work on this for 2 hours. And now you can see it's suggesting another task inside of there instead, which is still matching. You can see trampoline videos. It's still matching the frame filters of trampoline videos. If I plan ahead, if I move this dial along a little bit, it's going to add more days to my planning session. And now it's going to suggest all the way moving forwards. Same flexibility. I can drag tasks in from the side or this side, and you see a task has popped up because we are now planning further ahead. This task is something I need to pay attention to because I can't schedule in enough time, I assume. Yep, it's at risk because I can't fully schedule it before its due date. Let's come backwards a little bit. I typically only schedule 2 or 3 days ahead at this time of the week. On Sunday, I will schedule the full next week out using the AI planner, but right now we're just going up until Saturday. Then I can add more breaks. So you can see we've got a little break in there, we've got a little break in there. I can add more breaks, so let's drag that dial across. See, everything's more spaces. I can reduce the breaks and say, actually, you know what? I don't want to have any breaks. I want to just go completely ham and just have no time to breathe throughout my day, in which case, get rid of the breaks. And now it's going to suggest all of the tasks in as quickly as possible. I like to give myself a little bit of a break. then I can change the default duration. So what you'll notice is all of these smaller looking tasks are half an hour. If I use a shortcut on my keyboard, the square bracket, what I've done, I've increased the time resolution. So you see 9, 10, 11, 12. I've essentially zoomed in using the square bracket. I can zoom back out using the other square bracket. So if I zoom in, you'll see this is 9 to 9:30, 9:30 till 10. If I increase this duration to 1 hour, it's now going to recalculate everything. Let's zoom back out, and everything's going to default an hour. But you'll notice this one is not default an hour. We did change it, but it's not default an hour because it has a time estimate on the task. So Morgen assumes, or Morgen works out how long you have left of the task to do and puts that in. So the default duration only works with tasks that don't have a time estimate, such as all of these other ones. This mum's birthday card, spit it out, Danny. If we zoom in really far, is 15 minutes because you can see there, 15 minutes time estimate. So it's paying attention to what I'm telling it and suggesting those times accordingly. Let's move this. I typically keep this at half an hour. That's my personal preference. And then you'll notice I have split long tasks. And at the moment, there's not an example in here where it's splitting one. So what I can do is if I zoom out a little bit, or plan ahead a little bit, we should see, there we go, we've got building pitch deck. I've estimated it's going to take 4 hours. I believe that is actually an Obsidian task. No, it's not. Oh, of course it's not. It's in the, there. It's right there. I should have paid attention to the red outline. Yeah, so it's in here. It says 4 hours. There, it can only schedule a little bit of time because of the frame that it's in and the other priority tasks that I have inside of my Morgen, but it's also suggesting, hey, maybe you do something on Monday. And it doesn't want me to do anything on Saturday or Sunday because of the frames. And this is the power of the frames and not relying on an AI planner to just throw it in whenever you're available, because actually I don't want to be working on trampoline tasks in the morning because I want to do Morgen work. So I'm specifying what times I do certain tasks, and it's splitting those tasks into these slots, all before the due date, which is very nice. The scheduled task with no due date is also another option. So if I turn this off, we'll see lots of tasks disappear. And that's because they don't have a due date on. So you see, out of office, September 000 stands for out of office. This task doesn't have a due date. So I don't actually know when I want to do it, if I want to do it. It's just something I need to pay attention to. So I can turn it off in the scheduling settings, and it's not going to suggest a time for it. So now I can manually drag it in, or I can just use it as a task in the sidebar. Or I can say, actually, Morgen, schedule everything. And you see, there it is. It's scheduled it on Saturday morning inside of my inbox frame. And once I'm happy with everything, I can push schedule all. Or what I can do is push the X button. And now only those two tasks that I manually scheduled in, are actually there. So if I come into the inbox, I will just clarify, this inbox is only Morgen tasks in the inbox and Google tasks in my inbox, which you'll see there's 4 tasks there. So any task that shows hovering in these frames are one of these 4. If I go to Morgen tasks, any of the tasks in this frame should be any of these 14, etc., etc. So if I push schedule from this frame, what it will do is go back to this planning session. Let's drag this backwards. So we're only doing a few times. Yep, there we go. And then we've got all of these tasks coming in. See, this has now been increased again because the planning session ended. Remember, I adjusted it shorter. The planning session ended, and so now it's longer again. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to push schedule all, and now it's going to schedule all of those tasks in for tomorrow and for Saturday. Nice. So now I've got everything done. Something else I want to add before I go into conflict resolution is some of my planning, broad planning, as you'll see up here with the frames, is done specific to calendars. I'm going to say this now before I forget because it is one of the small quirks, I guess you could say, with my workflow. And you'll notice down here the calendar. If I zoom in a bit and scroll down, you'll see this is purple and this is blue. The line on the side is the calendar the task is in. So this is in the blue tasks calendar, and it's in the dev community task list. If I double click on this one, it is in the projects calendar and is in the inbox task list. If I change this task list to, let's say, Morgen and save, now I've got a purple outline but a blue dark line. So it's in a purple task list, but a blue task calendar. Hopefully that makes sense. If we have a look at this task, it's in the purple calendar, purple projects calendar. And now let's go to, let's say, habits and save. Now you see it's green on the outside and purple in the calendar. So that's a way to visually differentiate between the tasks. I'm going to put that back into inbox, and then you'll notice it's changing in the sidebar. I can see it moving around, and move this to the dev community, save, tasks are updated, and it's all changing there. And the reason this has gone into the purple calendar, purple projects calendar, and not the blue task calendar, is because this was manually scheduled outside of this task frame. So if I push P, go to the general preferences, you'll see it's up here. Yes, prioritize frame calendar. Yes, I always want to prioritize the frame calendar, or no, use the default. Yes, always prioritize means if I was to, so you can see respond to Camilla is here. If I was to drag this in, you see it's blue because I'm in a frame. If I move out of the frame, now it's purple. In, it's prioritizing the frame calendar, so it's purple, blue, and go out, it's now purple. And it goes to purple because of the default calendar for tasks here. And this is, like I say, a quirk in my workflow. Because I have frames everywhere, let's zoom back out again. Because I have frames everywhere, every time I schedule a task during the day, it will go into my task calendar. But when I'm planning, so broad projects or sprint goals, I go to 3, that's my calendar set, M, the month. Now when I drag something in, so I can go to my Morgen videos, say I want to do this video here, it now goes to the all day section and into the projects calendar. And so actually let's do it for yesterday, so I can go to the week and then go 1. When I'm looking at just the tasks that I need to get done, I can push 2 and it hides all of those projects. I don't need to see all of those project things, and you'll notice that project task has also disappeared because they're high level things. I want to zoom in and just see the tasks. If I push 3, it then brings back up those projects. So I'm actually going to change this to tasks, confirm, and now it's going to bring up the task calendar. Let's push 1 to bring everything back. And now we've got the habits in, we've got the tasks in, we've got everything going. Yes. If you do have any questions, let me know inside of chat. So next, what I want to do is go through the conflict resolutions. So if something does come up, say this meeting is going to be about here, and I save it, now it's blocked. What happens? Morgen says, hey, you've got a conflict, what do you want to do about it? It doesn't automatically shorten the task, move all of your tasks or anything like that. It says, what do you want to do about it? I could unschedule the task. You see, it's showing me what's going to happen. So unschedule the task, just don't do it. Or I could reschedule as soon as possible, in which case it's going to throw it on Sunday. I personally don't want to be doing all of that on Sunday, so I don't have a frame there on Sunday. Maybe in an emergency I need to get it done, but you'll also notice, if I move my mouse, it's going to change. If you have a look by the time, there is a warning symbol. And that warning symbol says this task is now actually going to go after the due date. So I actually don't want it to be rescheduled ASAP if I want to move the due date. If we come back, if we look here on the task, we now got a warning saying it's going to be scheduled after the due date. If I reprioritize with the AI planner, you can see what it's now doing is moving all of those tasks that are flexible. Flexible tasks are tasks that were planned with the AI planner, and putting it in right after that blocked slot. So if I come back here, you can see this little icon here, the workflows icon, is flexible because that task, if I zoom in, this one is flexible because it was scheduled with the AI planner. This one's flexible because it was scheduled with the AI planner. Flexible. If I right click, I can change it to flexible or not flexible. But if I go to reprioritize with the AI planner, whoops, let's zoom out so we can see. Reprioritize with the AI planner, there we go. Those tasks that are flexible have now been moved to a different frame on Monday and Tuesday, and the task that is going to be due soon has been put after that blocked meeting. What this means is I don't have to worry about deadlines or when I should do things, when I shouldn't do things, because Morgen AI Planner does it for me. If I come out here and change this to not flexible, so now let's say I really need to do this right now. I've got rid of the notification because I've actually interacted, so Morgan thinks I'm sorted, so I'm going to delete that and recreate the conflict. So let's save that in there. Now Morgan has found the conflict. Okay, now what should we do? Because the so crash mat is fixed, it's suggesting to do the task beforehand inside of those frames. So I can reschedule, and now it's rescheduled that task before the blocked. If I delete, I can then move that back down where we are. And so conflict resolution works for when an event pops up or when you add a task in. So going back to the command bar that was asked about beforehand, what I tend to do is if I push Control K, bring up the command bar, is I will add a task later on. So let's say I want to do a task, so review live stream. I can save it as an event or as a task, but down here you'll see we've got tips. I can add it to a specific calendar, add attendees, location, or tag for an event. There's no tags in tasks yet. That's a feature request, which you can look for in Canny. And then if I hover over tasks, again, calendar, but also task list, importance, or due date. So while I'm in this command bar, it defaults to event. But if I say, you know what, this is going to be in my Morgan task list and push enter, now it defaults to a task because there's no task list for an event. And now what I want it to do is I'm going to say at 9 o'clock, so 9 p.m. for 15 minutes. So it's 9, you can see there, 9 till 9:15 because I've said for 15 minutes. Let's just say high priority because I need to get it done. And I'm going to add a due date for today. So now this task will come in. So if I push enter, it will now create that task. But because I created the task and there's already a task there, Morgan's now telling me, hey, you have a conflict. So let's just zoom in so we can see the conflict. There it is. It's a 15-minute task. Respond to Camilla is meant to be happening. This task was also scheduled outside of the frame, which is why it's inside of the project's calendar. You can see the purple there. But if I reschedule with the AI planner, Camilla is now going to tomorrow. And let's reschedule with the AI planner. And now it's for tomorrow. But you'll notice this task has that warning again. Got the warning to say, yep, this task is after the due date. I can see the due date. It's right there. So if I move this over, and now you can see the task is fine. So let's zoom out a bit. There we go. So that is conflicts with tasks and conflicts with events. Time zones, shared calendars. I'm going through my, going through my list of features because there are so many. Now, if we have an event inside of in the past or in the future, I can click on the search icon at the top and search for it. So let's say sport, and it's looking for the next sport on Saturday or the one after, going forwards in time or going backwards in time. So I can search for events. If we say volunteer versus personal coach, this is what's scheduled on the calendar. So this task is scheduled on the calendar, which is why it's appearing in this search. If we have a look, I'm going to have to find a task that's not scheduled on the calendar. Let's just remove this one so it's not on the calendar. So out of office in September, if I go to search and go 000, it's got Marco's out of office from the joint calendar, but it doesn't have this task because this task isn't scheduled. If I want to find unscheduled tasks, I can go to the task sidebar and push the schedule in the search in here. Now when I push 000, it's going to appear inside of search. And that's because it's searching for the Morgan task. If I was in the ClickUp search and now go 000, it's not going to show the task because it was a Morgan task. So if you are searching, make sure you're either in the right source or you go to, there we go, the all tasks view. So that is how you can search to find tasks and search to find events or tasks that are scheduled in the calendar. Something worth noting is those tasks that are scheduled in the calendar. So let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, that was zooming in a lot. Is you can actually change the name of the task. So let's use the 000 as an example. I've scheduled it in the calendar. If I double click, I can change so let's just change the name to go there. We now, oh, did that save? No, I don't think it did. I didn't push the right button, did I? Backspace, save, there we go. Now it's saved the task session name, but the task is still the same. So if I drag it in again, I now have another version of the another session of the task. So I've got two sessions of the same task. and I can drag this in as many times as I want, as I showed before. But each of these sessions has unique information. So if this one, for example, is tell David I'm out of office, I need to message in Slack. So that could be the first one. Okay, this is what I need to do. I need to tell David I'm out of office. The next one is I need to put it on the calendar. So I need to put on calendar so everyone else knows that I'm out of office. And then this one is notify Brenna. So these are 3 different task sessions for the same task. And maybe I need to actually tell Brenna tomorrow, or I need to tell Brenna after work. I could have told David today, and I can put it on the calendar whenever, so I can do that on Sunday. This is a way to split up tasks and have different information in those task sessions, in those different task sessions, rather than having 3 different tasks. I have one task with 3 different sessions. Hopefully that makes sense, and if you have any questions, do let me know. But if I tick this task off, it's completed. If I tick this one off, it's now going to be completed, and we're slowly completing this task. If I tick this task off, it will now complete. There we go, complete that task, because all of the tasks in the future have been completed for that session. If we then go to View, Show Archived Tasks, there it is. So it's been archived because we've completed it. If, however, we unarchive the task, this was in the past, so let's bring this into the future. If we unarchive the task and then let's complete this and then say keep in the sidebar, the task won't be archived where it's just gone and will stay there for another session slot. So I'm going to go to week, go to show completed task slots, and actually uncomplete those, and then let's unschedule those. This is me fiddling around a little bit. So now Morgan thinks I've just got this task that hasn't been scheduled at all because I've deleted the schedule slots. I can drag this onto the calendar. So this is just scheduled ones. I've just done the task. I can complete it. But you know what? I actually still have stuff to do. I can keep it in the sidebar so it stays there. So I can add another time, or I can complete it from the sidebar right there. I use that all of the time with tasks that I don't actually get done. So for example, the crash mat, if I don't sew the crash mat up in time, which actually took far longer than I was expecting, I can tick it done and say, you know what, I need to do more work on that, keep that in the sidebar for the moment. So it's still there. And then I can schedule it in another time. I know that was the same time, but imagine schedule it in another time, and so I have another time slot, and the AI planner will schedule in time for that, assuming that you actually have time left. If you've said it's going to take 15 minutes and you've already done half an hour's worth of work, the AI planner may get a bit confused. So add some time in and say, actually, I still have another 2 hours worth of this work to do. So that's that one, that's that one, that's that one. That, good. Commands, good. Oh, very nice. They're all covered. Frame filters, suggestions. I think I've covered everything that I would like to cover for today in record time, I think, actually. If there's any questions about workflows or how you would work or how you'd want to work, or any questions about how I work more specifically, do let me know. One thing that I do want to mention before I wrap this up with all of these tasks is with the with subtasks, I don't tend to use subtasks inside of Morgan, but they are an option that I do want to share. So if you've got a task and I push a plus, you can add a subtask, and these subtasks are treated the same as regular tasks. So regular tasks can be scheduled on. So what's this? Let's use a better example, one that I can think of something for, crash mat. So sew mat, but then I want to clean foam insides, and these are unique. They've inherited the importance, but if I change the importance to, let's say, medium and save, the parent task is still there. If we come in here and then we change this to low and save, the parent task is still there. If we add a due date, let's say this one is due tomorrow, and save is now going to show. Why do you prefer not to use subtasks? Because I schedule tasks, big block tasks in. Actually, I might show you my project planning inside of Morgan as well. But yeah, I prefer to drag a task in multiple times than using subtasks. But I'll quickly go through this. Yeah, so the clean foam insides is due tomorrow. It's showing there, and it's showing the parent task inside of here. the main reason, so that's the subtask. The main reason I use main task is from here. So for example, this is taking 3 hours. The AI planner will schedule 3 hours for this thing. And let's just, as an example, come into here and then go into here. If they were to be subtasks, they would be, separated. They work fine with ClickUp. I do have, in my account, I do have some subtasks. But here I can see, okay, this task is there, this task is there, and it's all tracked on one task. So I know how long like the main project task is working for. And even in the, if I go 3 to M, even in this view, I can still see that it's one task. Whereas if they're subtasks, for whatever reason, I get confused with the names. So what I do is, there we go, that one and that one, is if I'm scripting this, I will have script inside of here. Save, that was probably, let's do research. I don't do too much research for these sorts of videos, but we're going to pretend we do. So I would say research this one and script this one instead of having a research subtask, script subtask, edit subtask for the desirable difficulty parent task. Instead of doing that, I just have research, script, and this also means that when I drag something in, I can adjust the task as it is. And also, one of the other significant reasons is I use the AI planner to schedule tasks, and currently Morgen doesn't schedule subtasks, auto-schedule subtasks. So actually, let's just, I'm holding shift on my keyboard, by the way, which is why how I'm doing the bulk selection. So if I hold, let's go to 2. So when I'm replanning my day, this is kind of like a quick tip towards the end. So in 1, I'm showing all the projects and all the habits. I don't want to delete a habit slot. So if I push 2, it's showing just my tasks and events. And now when I push shift, I can hover and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to delete all of those. And let's just replan my day, please. So I use that when I'm not having a good time. And I'm like, let's just reschedule all of this. But yeah, so with the tasks, I can, so with the subtasks, they don't get scheduled with the AI planner, which means I have to manually schedule them in. Yes, got it. That does make sense. Good. It is baking in the UK and it's very hot in my room, so apologies if I look really sweaty. Yeah, so let's have a look. Do we have anything? How do you add time to a task for AI to know how long to schedule a task? Great question. Yeah, I just assumed I had mentioned that, but I hadn't. So on Morgen tasks, there is a field that says estimate, and you can come in, you can manually, you can add in, say, 3 hours, or you can manually type in 6 hours and then enter and then save it, and now that's saved to 6 hours. Depending on the integration, we'll change the field. So ClickUp has a time estimate field, Notion uses a number field, Google Tasks doesn't actually have a field, but you can use the same thing that you do with Notion, which you can see here. In the task title, you can add whatever it is, so 3 hours. I can do this with any other integration, so Morgen, Notion, Morgen, ClickUp, Notion, or any of the others. Obsidian, you need to use it in the task title because, of course, it's a local tool for those unfamiliar. It's Markdown. So if I was to come in here and let's just, I can add a task this way. New task, can you show Notion? Yes. New task, let's say 2 hours, close bracket. You can see there it is, save, and we've come in. So I am looking at Notion, I'm just opening up. Let's duplicate to, right. Let's do this way, go there, open that up in Notion. There we go. So, Windows, give me a second. There we go. Thank you. So this is the, let's just hide that. So we've got more. This is the task that I've opened up from Morgen. You just saw me open it up. I clicked into the Notion, click on the Notion icon, and I'll bring it in. This is the task, which is just a page in the database. It's in the example Morgen projects database, and it's called Morgen Masterclass. If we come out of here, exactly the same. All of these fields are brought in. The due date can be edited from Morgen. And that's what's visualized on Morgen up at the top here. If I move it across, it will then update inside of Notion. So if I change this one to tomorrow, it will then give me a notification say due date has been updated. And now I actually need to open that one up. And you'll see there it is. It's now the 20th of June, which is tomorrow. So the due date field can be updated. All these other fields can't be updated from Morgen, but you can access them via Morgen straight back, similar with other integrations as well. We come back to the projects, we'll see the database. The person database is the attendee property or assignee property, sorry, of the task. So inside of the setup, which I can go through in a second if you want, inside of the setup you can say only tasks assigned to me. So all of these tasks won't actually come to me because they're all assigned to me. Or you can say all tasks. I think I have all tasks set up, but yeah, you can use the person property for that. You can have multiple person properties and then pick which one is the assignee, which one is the owner, etc. The number property, which is what we're referring to, is the time estimate. So here, let's actually pick a task. I'm going to use the Alt-C hotkey. Let's go D today, and then drag that over there. Right. This is how I normally view Morgen. I'm using Alt-C to close and bring up Morgen. I use this all the time. My default screen is my screen 2, which is why I'm dragging it across screens. This is my screen 3. So if we have a look at the Morgen masterclass, currently there is no time estimate. Morgen masterclass, no, there is no time estimate. So if I come in here and let's say 15, now let's come back to Notion. Oh, it's opened it up on the other side. And it's updated as we've gone. There we go. So it's got 15 hours because it's going to default to hours. So it's added in 15 hours. If you want 15 minutes, I believe, actually, it will say inside of, it keeps going to the other screen. It will say, if we go to View, Account Preferences, and scroll down. So this is the task database I've brought in. This is the projects database I've brought in. This is what I meant by assignee or task or assigned to myself. I'm using the person property. If you've got more, you can select them. I'm choosing the checkbox, but I could use the select property or multi-select property if I wanted to. It's entirely up to me. Importance, that's the priority brought in. Default grouping is the area, select or multi-select, description, date, number. So here we go. 0.5 is 30 minutes. 1 is 1 hour. 1.25 is 1 hour 15 minutes. So it assumes hours rather than minutes. So if we come back here and we say 0.25, because that's a quarter, that would be, if I go back to Morgen, of course, it's on the other screen, it will now change from 15 hours, once it's synced, to 15 minutes. There you go. So that's how you can bring in an estimate using a Notion property. But if we go into here and go there, it should, I haven't actually tested this in a while, it should change. I don't know whether it's going to conflict, so I'm going to remove that out of the way. Marco, developer, apologies if I'm doing something that might not work, but it should work. I assume it should. Let's just do a manual refresh because I may have confused it. And it should bring in, fingers crossed. There we go, 1 hour, and we've got the 1 hour time estimate. I'm so glad that worked. But yes, so now we have 1 hour from the task title, which is the way that I personally would use it because I don't want an added number property inside of Notion. But yeah, that is how you can do it inside of Notion. Any other questions? Do let me know. Let's just expand this back out so it looks a little bit more, I don't know, pretty. Oh, scheduling links. I didn't go over scheduling links. Let's cover those very quickly. Open invites. You can see I can edit the scheduling link, and what this does is I've got an available slot here. I can drag more available slots, and I can copy that text and send it to someone. Or I can update and copy the link, send the link, and then they will have a booking link to go through. I have conferencing links coming to my Google Meets. If I exit, I've also attached Zoom. Google Meets is by default with the Google account that's attached. Go to Manage Integrations. You can see there's the two that I've added. You've also got Teams, WebEx, and your own personal room. And then the booking, let's exit that. And the booking page, we have a booking page, which you can have public links to. So this is a schedule call, constantly publicly available, or private links. So schedule links are recurring links, which is why if I come to edit this, it gets rid of all those events and has this repeated. So it just assumes this is going to be the availability throughout the week and will block your calendar with whatever calendars you have blocking. If we go to the advanced settings, show booking page, show on the booking page, there we go, check availability, check the availability in 3 busy calendars, and then I can configure your busy calendars, which In preferences, availability, it's checking my task calendar, my events calendar, and my work calendar. So if I'm doing a busy task or a busy event in my personal calendar or work calendar, those slots will be hidden from booking pages and open link invites if I'm checking for availability, but I can say do not check availability, so it won't check them. Any updates on the inclusion of payment gateways for those scheduling links? Update is it is not a current development focus. At the moment, the team are working heavily on the web app. Once the web app is out, we will then reassess what to prioritize in the future. So I recommend sending in feedback when it comes to Canny, adding in feedback and sort of nudging us here and there, and we'll see where the priorities lie in future. But at the moment, development is web app first. Hopefully that answers your question, James, and it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Let's check the availability. Yes, that's update and save. And just so everyone can see what this looks like for the replay, if I copy the link, I'm going to paste this into a browser window. So I've just pasted it into a browser window and bringing it over. Oops, let's close those down. And close those down. You can see support call. Now if I click, it's showing all the available time. You come out, 24 hours. Everything that, for those of you familiar with booking links, it should be very similar, a very similar experience. Right. So if you edited the title of a Notion task in Morgen and added 1 hour, would that trigger time feature in Morgen without having to go into Notion time set time? That is a great question that I don't know the answer to immediately. So what I'm going to do is check now, because I know I can edit the task on here, but I don't think, no, it's locked. It's locked. So you can only edit certain information. So it looks like the developers have thought of that and said no, because it could potentially conflict. So it looks like you have to edit second the payment gateway question. Okay, David. Yeah, I would probably, when it comes to payments with booking links, probably go to Canny, upvote the request, and add some feedback and your use case for it. I imagine consulting work or business work, something like that, and we can see what we do in the future. But to answer Mike's question, I can see the lock, and it looks like the developers have thought about that, and there's obviously a conflict case. It looks like I can edit it though. So I'm going to try save. Let's see. Because this is a task session, it's not going to change the task here. So can I edit in there? Nope, didn't think I could. So nope, I tried. So it looks like I know you can change the task session here, but you can't inside of the parent task, and that's where the time estimate comes from. So now you'd need to go back to Notion for that one. Great question though. Great question. It's not something I thought about doing. Thanks. Good. Right. I don't have anything else. I don't think that I've missed anything. I'm just going to double check. I've gone through all of those things: flexible, non-flexible, meeting notifications. I had a notification which was very handy to show the button, plan dates, due dates, starts, propagation. Yes, I've covered everything on my list with 2 minutes to spare. Great. I've answered a few questions as well. So if you do have any follow-up questions or any thoughts about Morgen, let me know. You can access I'm going to move my face very quickly. So actually, let's move it further up. If I come back, if you go to the help icon down at the bottom, and you can see contact Morgen support, and you'll see in here you can add messages and you can send us a message, and I will probably respond as soon as possible. What is the link for voting in Canny? Another great question. Inside of the help link, is it the help link? No, it's not. It's the preferences. You can go to the roadmap, and from the roadmap, of course, it's going to open up on screen 1. We then get to the Morgen roadmap, and then we go to feedback, and I believe your request was payments, payment integration, Stripe. There you go. And this is currently where we're sitting. James, it looks like you were the one that asked for it, so this is where we're currently sitting. That is how you can access it. Go to the profile picture. Can you see that? Yeah, profile picture. Then go to roadmap, and then it will open it. The tab. It will then open up the roadmap and all the feature requests. Yeah, I think that covers everything. So I'm going to come back to my lovely face. You can see it's got much darker, and I'm all shiny. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If you do have any questions, like I say, reach out to us. I'm more than happy to help, and put a comment in the comment on YouTube. Wow, words. Comment on YouTube, and we'll also respond there as well. So thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day, lunchtime, evening, sleep, whatever time it is where you are, and I'll see you potentially next month.